This Equipment World video is brought to you by Chevron Delo 600 ADF Ultra Low Ash Diesel Engine Oil. It's time to kick some ash.
Today we're here to talk about Kubota's new skid steer, the SVL75-3. Apparently they have revamped almost everything on the machine. So here from Kubota to talk to us today is Jerry. He's going to give us a breakdown of what all has changed on the new Kubota series. So I guess let's kind of just start at the rear of the machine. Can you give us an overview of what's changed, what you guys have had your hands into on the new Dash 3 series?
Absolutely, and the rear is a great place to start. Once you open up the engine bay, the first thing you see is that it's completely been redesigned. This machine is all about productivity and serviceability. And once you open up that engine door, there's nothing in the way to get you to the filters, fluid flows, and all of that. We've moved the radiator up on top, the fuel tank to the rear door.
So if I'm understanding that correctly, the fuel tank actually, does the door swing out with the fuel tank on it so everything's easily accessible there?
It does.
And now that is no longer taking up space in the rear compartment where you're trying to get your hands around the motor to fix things.
Correct. As soon as you open that door, everything you would ever need to touch is right there at your fingertips. We've put in the creek cleaner from our SVL77 series on top. We've added a lockable fuel fill, which is real important in some areas of the country. And moving the radiator up on top has caused us to put an optional reversing fan up on top so that you can keep that rear deck clean of debris.
That's fantastic. We do a lot of forestry application work, and it is always a nightmare trying to keep the top of that engine compartment clear of debris, to keep the fire hazard down, to keep everything breathing the way that it's supposed to. So I'm really glad to hear you guys have added that. Anything else kind of at the back of the machine, engine compartment wise, that you'd like to tell us about?
If you close that door, right there in the door is that new wide angle camera, which gives you 176 degrees of visibility, including right there off your back bumper. You can see everything behind you, and you don't have to account for a blind spot. And yes, that does show right there on the brand new touchscreen.
That's beautiful. I will say, and this isn't Kubota, this is just manufacturers in general. As an operator in the past, what's always been frustrating is you've got these great backup cameras, and then you have this very tiny little screen with very poor resolution that you're supposed to make sense of that picture. So it's really nice now that manufacturers are starting to put in the high resolution screens.
Yeah, 7 inches doesn't seem like a lot. When it's right in front of your face in the cab, it's plenty big to see left.
Moving kind of to the outside, the sides of the machine, what's changed on the outside of the machine?
So we've changed the loader arms from front to back. We've got a higher hinge pin height up front and a higher cross pipe in the back for better rearward visibility. Even with that camera, it's still necessary sometimes to look behind you, and now you can do that without that cross pipe in the middle.
Perfect.
We've also added standard LED lights front and rear. Not that it necessarily has to do with the side of the machine, but we followed some aspects from some of our other machines. From the SVL65, we have taken the advanced multifunction valve, which allows for seamless, simultaneous operation with the loader arm and the tap. So you can be lifting a load with a combo bucket and working everything at the same time, and it doesn't bog anything.
So you've actually increased the amount of functions you can do at one given time with the machine.
Absolutely. As I mentioned at the start, this new machine is all about productivity and serviceability. And one other thing that we have added is we've added the auto downshift function from our line of excavators, which automatically shifts from high range to low range as you're entering a turn, so that it smooths out the ride as well as gives you good exiting torque from in the turn. And it shifts back into high range when you're done. This is especially important if you have a high or a heavy load. It just keeps it smooth and consistent.
Now, I'm going to be operator in the room here, and I'm going to ask the question, can I run around, zipping around in rabbit speed all the time, and then as I go into a pile, this will automatically downshift into turtle so that I can get into that pile and then immediately zip off, or do I still need to downshift into that turtle mode?
In a pile, you would still need to downshift. This relates to turn.
Okay. So the machine is sensing the turn more than it is the load on the motors themselves.
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Well, let's move into the cab. What's changed? I hear you guys have had your hands all through that cab.
But before we get into that, I want to take a second to tell you about the sponsor of this video, Chevron Lubricants. Protecting your diesel engine and its exhaust aftertreatment system has traditionally been seen as an either-or proposition when it comes to choosing the engine oil that's going to protect your system. And that's exactly why Chevron spent more than a decade of R&D work developing a no-compromise formulation. Now, I don't have to tell you why a clogged DPF is bad news, but here's the real kick in the pants. 90% of that ash clogging up your DPF and then upping your fuel and maintenance costs, it comes from your engine oil. You might be thinking, why don't they make an engine oil with less ash in it then? You'll be happy to learn that Chevron agrees with you. They've developed a new ultra-low ash diesel engine oil that is specifically designed to combat DPF ash clogging. Dello 600 ADF with OmniMax technology cuts sulfate ash by 60%, radically reducing the rate of DPF clogging and extending the DPF service life by 2.5 times. Before you had to choose between protecting your engine or your aftertreatment system. Now you don't. Dello 600 ADF with OmniMax technology. It's time to kick some ash.
Well, let's move into the cab. What's changed? I hear you guys have had your hands all through that cab.
Correct. First of all, it's a brand new cab. We've gone from a 2-piece cab to a 1-piece cab, and it still has the roll-up door.
Yes, perfect.
And the 1-piece cab seals the cab from dirt and water intrusion. It makes for a quieter environment.
Yeah, those 1-piece cabs, that's one of those small things that just when you look at it at 30,000 feet, doesn't look like it would have that big of an impact.
Yeah.
But when you are in that machine, it is substantially quieter. You get far less, like you said, dust intrusion. It's a much cleaner experience. But then I'm so glad you guys kept that roll-up door. That is one of the biggest. Back in my days of selling equipment, I could always get people with the roll-up door. That is such a nice feature.
Yeah, the cab size is still the same. So you get in, you sit down, you have plenty of room around you, and it's just a comfortable place to work.
And then you mentioned also you guys increased the screen size. So this thing has, and like you said, 7 inches does not sound like a big screen, but when it is 4 inches from your face, that's actually a pretty dang big screen.
Correct, and it includes a lot of features in and of itself. It has keyless start, it's touchscreen, as well as it has a jog dial. It has integrated Bluetooth and radio. You can change the track settings off of that. You can administer a number of accounts, so if you have different people and one person out from high flow or from high range, you can do that.
I will say that, again, from an operator standpoint, has been so nice to have now that, first of all, we've gone more to the EH style controls over the conventional pilot controls. Having all of that adjustability and tweaking ability within those menu systems, but then also, like you just mentioned, to have different user profiles where I can change the sensitivity of the hydraulics, the track speed, all of that stuff for me. And then my buddy Rick can get in there and he can have his own setup, and the two are completely independent of each other. That is such a convenient feature to have.
Absolutely, and especially in rental environments and other places.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me ask you this. From what I understand, these are full on in production. This is not a coming soon interview. This is, it's here. Go down to the local dealer and check it out.
Yep, they started showing up in dealers, or they started shipping in May, first week of May. So they've been in dealer hands for 3 months.
Well, anything else highlight-wise you want to cover before we start to wrap up here?
I talked about productivity. Some of the other things that we've increased, a higher ROC. We've increased the hinge pin height, as I mentioned. We've increased the auxiliary flow. We've increased the speed in both high and low range. This is an incredibly productive machine. That 1-piece cab, it lifts up with assist. So one person can do it. And once the cab's in the air, you have a fairly straight shot right off the back of the machine without that radiator in the way, seeing out as a breeze. So easy maintenance, easy serviceability, and definitely productive. And it comes performance matched with our sister company, Lampride's different attachments.
So it sounds like whether I had a bad or a good experience with Kubota previously, I need to come check out the new Dash 3 series because it is not the same machine.
Without a doubt. One of my salespeople have been leveraging this comment that aside from the fact that it has a roll-up door and it's orange, it's all different.
Well, Jerry, thank you so much for all the information. I genuinely appreciate this. I'm excited to see the new Dash 3 series. Well, thank you again for Jerry taking the time to come on the show to give us a rundown of the new Dash 3 series from Kubota. As you can see, they have had their hands in almost every aspect of this machine, so if there's been something in the past that you haven't liked about a Kubota machine, I would absolutely encourage you have another look. Give the new Dash 3 series a spin and see what you think. As always, I hope this helps you in your business. We'll catch you on the next episode with The Dirt.